Hey Sean, what's happening? Sorry, I got a mosquito flying around me. I'm going to kill it. What I should do is tell me if this is too loud, Sean. Is that too loud? The fan? All right. Yeah, I had a busy day today. I got a busy day tomorrow, and then a really busy day Saturday. Yeah, I just need to like sometimes mosquitoes try to come up behind me, so if I put the fan on, it blows them out, and they're not coming this way. I got one of these candles over here that they don't like. And then Sunday I'm on a flight all day. Okay, good. I'm smoking the last of my 5 pack of the H. Upman 1/880th anniversary. I don't know why it's not focusing. Focus. Chris just got the Fishman Loud Box. Sure. How's it sound? You gotta love it. Nice. Yeah, it was really smoky here yesterday, Johnny. Outside had like a yellowish tinge. I felt like I was on an episode of CSI Miami. But I don't know why this is finding its way over here. But the today they said it was supposed to be worse and it wasn't. It was fine today. What does the foot switch do? Is it a foot switch for like a channel? I would have no idea. Yeah, Northwest Connecticut. Yeah. Like I said, yesterday was bad here. Today was just, warm, but clear. The smoke was all gone. And like I said, they said it was supposed to come back and be worse today, but it wasn't at all. Today was fine. And then tomorrow, I got my gig. I got to do a few errands. I realized that my piece of luggage that I have has a big crack on the handle, so I'm going to go pick up a new piece. And then Saturday, I got to play a wedding and then my gig. And then the next time I go live will probably be in a cafe in London smoking some Cuban cigars with my brother. So that'll be cool. Yeah. Yeah, yesterday was nuts. I mean, I got out of the gym yesterday and I was like, why does it smell like there's an electrical fire somewhere? It had that smell of an electrical fire. I was like, yeah, I think it's going to be cool. Yeah, it should be fun. It's a couple of musicians that I used to play with that live out there, so I'm going to hopefully try to hook up with them. And really, it's just, I take care of my mom like full time basically, besides teaching and then my gigs. And it's just good to be able to get away for like 3 or 4 days, do nothing, and hey, Cold Roses, what's up, man? And just relax and just have fun. So that'll be good. My sister will be here the whole time, so she's now talking to me about she wants to escape for like a few days, which I'm like, all right. So she'll do that after I get back and figure it out. I missed that last one. Hold on. Oh, he told me I lost the chat. Hold on, I'll be right back. Oh my God, this thing with the chat disappearing is driving me nuts. All right, let me just try to remember how to get rid. It's back. Michael Stanley tunes. He don't love you like I love you. I love that tune. We don't do it. We've talked about doing that when I had FM station. We talked about doing Michael Stanley. AM station, nah, nobody would know the tune, and to play it on acoustics wouldn't be happening. But yeah, Michael Stanley Band. He don't love you like. They had another big song. My AC has been. My AC runs the second the season starts. I just we have central air here, so I just set the thermostat and go. But what's great is I had to shut the AC off in my mom's room by blocking the vents, and then I keep her door shut, and I keep my door shut. So the hallway doesn't have any vents. So the hallway takes longer to chill up. So even though the thermostat's set to 73, my room is probably 65 to 68. So it's great. Yeah, he don't love you. Hey, what's up, man? No sound. Can you guys hear me or no? How about now? How about now? Anybody hear me? Okay. Okay. Dude, YouTube on this app has been so messed up lately. Chris still says no sound. Chris, close and open. I think it's you at this point. All right, yeah. What do I know? What else? What else you guys got? So yeah, so tomorrow's my regular gig. And here's the thing is I gotta chart a couple of songs and I have no idea what they are. And I said last week I was gonna chart them. I gotta ask Kenny. Okay, good. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's a fun one. We do a stereo. I gotta chart something and I can't remember what it is. Then I gotta do a wedding and I had to learn, get this one, I had to learn a Bob Dylan tune, which thank God it's just a 1-4-5. I mean the chorus I think is a 1-5-6-2-1. But yeah, so that's easy. That I can play off the top of my head. I haven't even listened to it more than once, but I figured it out. The other one is a song that's in open D, which it's an open D6 tuning. And I think it's actually pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of an old Hank Williams tune. So, but I got to play that finger style. And other than that, then I'm just playing with this girl singer the whole time. Hey, Chris, welcome back. Played a gig with a cellist tonight. I love playing with cello. Now, we don't play the wedding song. I try to get this girl singer, and I got to reach out again to her tomorrow to see if she'll do the Van Morrison song, Someone Like You. If not, we'll probably just do Crazy Love from Van, but the woman that's getting married loves Van Morrison, so I thought that would be a good song to do, but. And then we're going to do the Michael Stanley Band. I'm kidding. Oh, here he is again. Hey, how about the Michael Stanley. I used to love the song He Don't Love You, and we talked about doing it when it was FM station. We had a full band because it's right up my alley of like songs like that. Steel Breeze. Remember Steel Breeze? You don't like it anymore. Gang, 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 gang. But it was just one of those cheesy songs from early 80s that just brings me back. But when we got to nice. When I had to get back to doing just acoustic, I was like, we're not doing Michael Stanley and those songs. A good song with a cellist is I like doing Anything Lyle Lovett. You Don't Want Me Anymore? Is that Tim McGraw? That's Just Then for a Moment. I remember you don't love me. You don't love me anymore. Steel Breeze, exactly. You don't want me anymore. Gang, 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 gang. Rosewood Bitters. What the hell is that? It's your attitude. Dank, dank, dank. It's your attitude. Yeah, because when I did the full band, we were doing songs like, we did a couple of different songs off Billy Squier. We did that song by the John Hall Band. And I keep on falling in love, which I love that song called Crazy. And we would do a lot of like the one hit things that you, no, that's Tim McGraw. Tim McGraw. And just then for a moment, I forgot that you don't love me anymore. I do have a great memory. Unfortunately, it's getting hard to cram stuff in there. Years ago, I used to date this girl and I would tell her, don't tell me any more stories. Because she would get so detailed in her stories about nothing. Clearly why we didn't last. She would tell me stories about nothing and I'm like, do you understand I'll remember this story and you're killing me because there's other things I'd rather remember than this fucking travesty of a story? Way too much detail. And then I went to the store and I walked over 2 feet and I looked to my, oh, for fuck's sake. Falling in love again? Baby, baby, falling in love. I'm falling in love again. We've done that. That's, if we're talking of the same song, that's Hamilton, Joe, and Frank Reynolds. Or is it Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds? Hamilton, Joe, Frank, and Reynolds. Yeah, when people ask me for a song that I don't want to play, I'm like, that's not the song you want to hear. No, that's not the song I want to hear. You're going to love anything I play. I love anything you play. Move along. Well, Mary Lou Henn is ridiculous. Oh, it's a Michael Stanley song. Yeah, I don't know it. Thing about Keith Urban is I don't love him. I don't like him much. You know, he tries to put himself out there as like the telly guy and the guitar player guy, but he's not as good. And he just he's okay, and his voice, like years ago, he had a big hit with a cover of Romeo's tune by Steve Forbert, and there's something about Steve Forbert's voice that I love that song. Meet me in the middle of the day, let me hear you. There was something so unique about Steve Forbert's voice that I loved it. Yeah. Lucky on those guys back then. She was a POA back then. Baby, baby, falling in love again. I like that falling in love again. Oh, I know what it was. Didn't Michael Stanley Band have a song called This Town? This Town is the song that I remember that I liked. He Don't Love Me, He Don't Love You, and This Town. Yeah, I used to love that song. Well, I think, see the thing, My Town. Thank you, My Town. Oh, see, so here's something funny about The Confessor. When I was in high school, everybody was so like, dude, did you hear Joe Walsh, The Confessor? And I'm like, yeah, it's on the radio every fucking day. How am I not hearing it? And people would just, oh, that was another great one. That was their version. They wanted that for Elvis. Don't pull your love out on me, honey. If you do, the sky's the limit. Oh, great tune. Anyways, I just never cared for it. I thought the key change when they went from D to E was weird in Confessor, so I avoided that album. Oh, Brad's an awesome player. That's what I said. There's a different class there. Brad is in the class of Steve Wariner, Vince Gill, and Brent Mason. And is it Johnny Olander? What's the guy's name that plays for Diamond Rio? He's really good. I forget the guitar player in Diamond Rio. He was good. Joe Walsh, I tell you, the album that, like, over the years that I go back to over and over is But Seriously, Folks. Everything about that album I love. I mean, side one is perfect. And side two is perfect, although it's definitely more experimental with, and I can't even remember the name. After Tomorrow, there's a song about something in the boat, which is like an instrumental, but it's beautiful. And then, of course, Life's Been Good, but Danny Gatton, I like. It's a little bit more of a looser feel for me. I like him. It's more rockabilly than the true country guys who play spotlessly clean, but I like him. And what was the other guy? See, I'm more of like a Jerry Reed. I like more of the guys that play traditional country more than the bluegrass, not the bluegrass, the Albert Lee is awesome. More than the guys who play more of the rockabilly stuff, which I like. And I like Danny Gatton, but I don't love him. And I mean, if you're going to ask me, is he a great player? He's fucking phenomenal. It's just not it just doesn't spark me up. It doesn't light me up the way the other guys do. How's Glenn Campbell? He's all right. Glenn's awesome. Glenn Campbell's a monster player. Of course, I knew David Bayerwald. David Bayerwald used to come into my shop. So the guy from was David Bayerwald and David Ricketts. Ricketts, I think, moved to Hawaii and retired. And Bayerwald was part of the Tuesday Night Music Club with Sheryl Crow, and I believe he wrote most of that album, the Tuesday Night Music Club album by Sheryl Crow. Look up the credits. I'm pretty sure that's David Bayerwald that wrote a lot of that stuff. And he used to shop at my store at West LA Music, and he was a great, great guy. We had a bunch of laughs. I was always, when he would come in, I'd be commenting on Swallowed by the Cracks, or I'd be sitting there going, Miss Christina drives a 944. Yeah, great, great, yeah. Yeah, he was a super nice guy. One of the guys I really liked that came in the shop. Michael Stanley was around in 73. That I did not know. And I know the big hit was sung by the other guy in the band, not him. Yeah, it was on, West LA was on Santa Monica Boulevard on the corner of Corinth. Oh, it's a great tune. I had a buddy in high school and we used to hang out and always, on nights that he would drive, it was that album was in there or the Firm's first album. And that's why we do Satisfaction Guaranteed, because that reminds me of being in high school cruising with my buddy in his car, listening to Mystery Surrounds Me. And it's almost the same song. 64. Okay, I'm 58. Oh, you're a lot further away than I thought. But yeah, I love those songs, man. Those were like, now if you posted songs like that on my channel to say, hey, do a lesson on this one or that one, I would probably do it. Because those are songs that I grew up with, like the Welcome to the Boomtown, Swallowed by the Cracks. You think it was a fumble? I thought that first album was really great. Midnight Moonlight was great. Satisfaction Guaranteed. I thought Radioactive was good. It had that really whacked out riff where he's just kind of doing the, I call it the Robert Fripp shape, where it's just, that's like the Robert Fripp shape on the guitar, the fingering. And then, which is where I think he might have got it from, because it's very similar to, is it Red? I think it's Red by King Crimson that does that lick. But anyway, those songs, what else did the Firm have? Closer by the Firm was awesome. Feeling loose even though you give me fever. Oh, excellent. You know what's great by Joe Vitale? Joe Vitale put out a song called Falling Down. And when he worked with Joe Walsh on at the station, they put that song as the tag to the chorus. I'm falling down, down, down. That was actually a Joe Vitale song a year before on a Joe Vitale record. Now, I think I did Indian Summer. I think I did a lesson on Indian Summer. I don't know if I did Secondhand Store. I definitely did. What's the opening track on that Joe Walsh album? Gang, 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 gang. Over and over. I did a lesson for that for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who did the lick on that in Radioactive, but like I said, I would call it the Robert Fripp lick because it's just the shape that Robert Fripp used to do a very similar thing on an early King Crimson record, and I always just associate that type of lick to Robert Fripp. Fripp is awesome. I watched last night. I was watching live King Crimson when they were doing like frame by frame in like 81. Oh my God. So good. Oh, the Boat of Weirdos thing. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Toya Wilcox, his wife. Toya Wilcox had a band with Robert Fripp in '90 called Sunday All Over the World. And I remember buying that album because I was like, this is the first Robert Fripp record that since King Crimson broke up in '84. And I love that record. You guys should check out that album. It's called Sunday All Over the World. And Toya Wilcox is awesome on it. It's a great record. She sings great on it. I didn't see the Steve Vai because I'm not interested. It's like, it's almost like watching. What came in my feed last week was "Son of Orange County," which is a song by Frank Zappa, performed by Zappa Does Zappa. It was Dweezil, and I watched like 3 or 4 minutes of it, and I was just like, it was good, but it wasn't like watching I can go watch the original Roxy and Elsewhere show on YouTube and watch Frank do it. I'm like, and when Frank does it, there's such a different vibe to it. I can't explain it, but it's like so much more. I don't even how to address it. It's just there's something about it. The vibe is. It's not like a guy covering it. It's like the real deal. And don't get me wrong, I think Dweezil's a better player than his father. In fact, I think Dweezil's a sensational guitar player. And I think he's a lot better than Frank. I don't know why he's not doing. I would much rather watch Dweezil go tour his album Confessions than hear him play old Frank songs. We have the internet now, and I can go watch Frank play all those shows, and it's awesome. It's effing awesome. So in short, that's why I'm not watching Steve Vai play Robert Fripp's parts. I'm like, yeah, that's how I would feel about it. I would feel like I'm not hearing Fripp do it. I'm hearing somebody cover it. And yeah, I remember I had a good buddy of mine that was really big into the League of Crafty Guitarists. And that was also around the time I think Bruford was touring the Wall of Sound. Oh yeah, that's Jewish Princess. And I love the Shake Your Booty album. I think Shake Your Booty is a great album. And of course, Adrian Belew's on that record too. And Terry Bozzio. And I like the album. And of course, I love Joe's Garage. I mean, I'm a huge Kali Yuta fan. I love Warren Cucurullo. I think that's just a great Ike Willis on that. Pluking Too Hard. I mean, just like songs like Fembot and a Wet T-Shirt. Outside Now, I like Watermelon Meester Hay. Lucille's Messed My Mind Up. I love that record. Like I said, there's stuff with Frank that I absolutely love. And then there's stuff by Frank where I have to agree with George Duke. What the fuck are we doing here? Because George was like, when he playing those 50s style songs? Like, I think, like, when you listen to Shake Your Booty, my least favorite song on that record might be Bobby Brown. I just find it silly. Hey there, people, I'm Bobby Brown. They say I'm the cutest boy in town. It's like, did I come here to listen to Weird Al Yankovic? Come on. But then he plays City of Tiny Lights. That song's monstrous. That I love. So yeah, I'm not into the silly Frank. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the Frank fans don't separate it, and they like it all. I don't care for the. I feel like it doesn't have legs with me. It doesn't. I find it silly and pedestrian. I'm just not interested in it. I love Black Napkins. I love it. That C minor 7 to D major 9. The whole song. So last week, somebody came up and said, "Can you guys do a Frank Zappa tune?" And I said, "Sure." And the two guys I play with just look at me like scared, going, "What the fuck are we gonna do?" And I'm like, so I say to the guy playing the cajon, I say, "Give me a slow 6/8." So he starts playing, and I say to Jimmy, I say, "Play me an E chord over 6, and then give me an A chord, and then in the bass you're gonna give me C sharp to D." And so he does it, and as soon as he starts doing that, this guy's eyes light up. He was like blown away, and then I do the ba ba. Well, I mean, look, everybody was tapping. Everybody. Listen to Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers. He taps in that solo, Billy Gibbons, and I think you're going to hear the whole Van Halen catalog listening to ZZ Top. I don't give a fuck what he says, who he listened to. That shit is ZZ Top. Hey, Sean, have a great night. And you can go to YouTube and look up Van Halen, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, and you can see them covering it, where he's alternating singing with Michael Anthony, and Eddie's doing all the fucking Billy stuff note for note, the solo, everything. It's like, guys, that was what their DNA was. They were like ZZ Top on speed. You know, ZZ Top was probably a little bit older and came from more of a blues background, and Van Halen swung it more. That's all. Otherwise, they're very, I mean, Hot for Teachers, fucking LaGrange. There's so many riffs that when I hear it, I'm like, oh, I hear Billy. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So you got into him when he was playing that pig nose amp on the Mike Douglas show, playing Black Napkins. I saw a video recently where he was live and he was talking about that. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. You know, it's funny because I think the record version sounds so much better. That pig nose sounds terrible on TV. But I think it's a really, and he played it with the Mike Douglas band. But I think, you know, Zappa's great. You know, people can sit there and say, Zappa wasn't the best technical guitar player, but he was super creative. He could hear stuff, and I think he was great. I mean, I can't, there's so many Zappa records that I think are great, and so many songs that I would point to people to show how brilliant I think he is. Yeah, he played a pig nose on that show. Doesn't he show the? I mean, I haven't seen that Mike Douglas show in 100 years, but I think he shows it. Hmm. I mean, I love songs like Uncle Remus. Uncle Remus might be my favorite Zappa tune. Whoa. I love Cosmic Debris. I think that Apostrophe album's great. Overnight Sensation's great. Um, let me see what I miss. Yeah, okay. I think the 80s King Crimson was something special. As far as, here's four guys playing some of the craziest music going. And I love Adrian Belew's voice. Oh, right. I'm trying to think of the band that I used to see with it. I think it was Fishbone that used to go out and would play live, and they had a theremin on stage. Fishbone back in the day, the late '80s was great, early '90s. Oh yeah, Sleepless and Three of a Perfect Pair when they're like, "She's impossible." Just awesome, and just the way they locked in, and Bruford's friggin' great. I gotta tell you, somebody on TikTok had a thing, and it was like their 10 favorite rock bass players. And it was all like the cliche nonsense, Entwistle and all this stuff. And I'm like, how do you not have Greg Lake in there? That guy was incredible. You listen to the bass line on what the hell's the name of that damn song? Carnival 9, First Impression, Part 1. That bass is sick. It's just a sick line. I'm not a big Flea fan, I gotta be honest with you. In fact, I always thought Norwood Fisher from Fishbone, number one, had a better slap technique. It was way more musical than Flea. I didn't really care for Flea much. I thought Flea was a guy that plays, that can slap, but anybody here that is, oh, the voice and the way he played guitar and bass, Greg Lake is fucking awesome. And I'll tell you another guy that plays bass, and if you're going to bring up Flea, I don't think Flea belongs anywhere near Mark King. And for those who know who Mark King is, you know what I'm talking about. Because Mark King can slap with the best of them while he's singing a melody. While he's in the middle of a melody, he's singing, "Hey, Charlie." I mean, those two pop hits that he had in the '80s there, that there was something about you, baby, in your eyes. And you watch him thumping while he's playing that, it's like, are you kidding me? He's hitting pitch perfect and he's bumping all over the bass like that. And then that other song, Tyron, I don't know if Tyron Porter was a great bass player, but I love his singing. That song, "For Someone Special" by the Doobie Brothers, where Tyron Porter sings, is one of my favorites. And I caught a live on YouTube of him singing it. I was like, this is awesome. Because "For Someone Special" is one of my favorite Doobie Brothers songs. Well, there were some great bass players out of England. You got Mark King. I think John Taylor from Duran Duran was phenomenal. And I also think Mick Karn from Japan was unbelievable. Marcel Jacob, who's he from? I don't know the name. Oh, I think Tyron Porter's a great bass player. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if he would be in my list of the upper echelon. Like I said, I love his voice. But there are some guys that play like, nobody talks a lot about Ronnie Baker. Ronnie Baker played on Disco Inferno, but he plays on Bad Luck by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. You listen to that bass line on Bad Luck by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, it's like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, when you said John Wetland, you mean John Wetton? Yeah, I don't know if Glenn Hughes I have up there. I mean, he's no better than Roger Glover. And they were good bass players, but I don't consider them. Like I said, go listen to Carnival 9, First Impression, Part 1. Part 2 is the radio hit, where he's, welcome all my friends to the show that never ends. That's okay. Part one, that bass line is crazy. Crazy. And he's singing, playing that fucking thing. It's like, come on. Well, I mean, I think like when you talk about any professional bass player, they're all great. Guys that can play in the pocket, that play bass on records, they're great. But when you're talking about, I'm talking about and Wentons, I mean, like, you want to talk about a prog rock album? I think that first Asia album is so underrated. That song, Time Again, is so good. Oh, okay, you're a Bolan fan. Yeah, I didn't know much about him because by the time he was out of, you got to understand, there's a great video I watched the other day with Greg Koch, and Greg Koch's talking about how he was a Zepp head and never really got into Purple, and he's like, or yeah, he didn't get into Purple, but he liked Rainbow, and that was the same way. Like I loved Rainbow. I never cared for Deep Purple, so when everybody, when I was a kid, was doing like talking about Machine Head, Highway Star, Smoke on the Water, I was always like, I don't care. I don't know what it is about it. I don't care for it. But then if you said to me, what about Rainbow? Man, I fucking love Blackmore's Rainbow. I love Rainbow Rising, and I love Long Live Rock and Roll. It actually took me a while to get into the non-Dio Rainbow. In fact, I think Stone Cold came out, which is what, straight between the eyes, when I finally went back to Difficult to Cure and Down to Earth. Oh, I loved, of course. I mean, the first UK record with Holdsworth. Come on, I'm a Holdsworth fan. In the dead of night, in the dead of night. Oh, I fucking love it. Love it. Yeah. And those are songs like yeah, Gates of Babylon. You can see, yeah, you see when Greg Koch was talking about it, going, you can see, but you're blind. I was goofing on that back when I was in high school. I love Greg Koch. I think he's funny as hell. But those are the kinds of, like, those are like me and my buddies hanging out. That's the stuff we'd be goofing on. The devil is me, and I'm holding the key to the gates of sweet hell, Babylon. It's like, it's absurd, but it's so good. That was, that's on Long Live Rock and Roll, which I think, for me, was my favorite Rainbow for the longest time. I go back and forth between that and Rising, but Rising has that song, Do You Close Your Eyes When You Make Love to Me? And it's Dio singing, and I'm like, do I close my eyes? Just fucking throw me in a burlap sack and toss me in a fire, would you please? Yeah, he's very tall. Yeah. He's such a good player, though. I use him always as my argument when someone talks about gear. I'm like, dude, Greg Koch could play a Squire into a pig nose and sound like fucking anybody. He sounds fantastic. There's no making the guy sound bad. But yeah, I used to love those Rainbow records. Again, and Kill the King was on Long Live Rock and Roll. LA Connection was on it. Lady of the Lake was on it. My buddy used to love the one, oh, that was on Blackmore's Rainbow. One day in the year of the fox when time began. Oh, yeah. And the tolling of the big black bell. My buddy used to love that one. Is that one called 16th Century Greensleeves? I can't remember the name of that tune. But yeah, it's all great. But again, even listening to Rainbow, like I never was like, I gotta figure out this guitar solo. I gotta figure out what he's playing. It didn't make me want to jump up and grab my guitar the way when I heard like Judas Priest Unleashed in the East, and I was like, what is he playing here? What is that? What is this? And that really, or like Michael Schenker's MSG album. MSG and Built to Destroy were really big for when I wanted to play. But yeah, for me, Blackmore was never my. And so when and I guess the whole reason I'm talking about this is because Tommy Bolin, who replaced Blackmore in Deep Purple, like I never went hunting through those records. I didn't care at that point anymore. I was like, yeah, I don't know who that is. You also got to remember, I'm listening to like so many different styles of music. Like by the time I was like, when I was a senior in high school, there was a radio here in Boston, and it was Q something. I cannot remember and I was working a job in like a factory on 138. That's the route that's there. And I can't remember where I was working, but they had that radio station on, and all day I'm hearing Toto and Steely Dan and basically all the LA bands that had that sound. And it was like my introduction to Larry Carlton. And at that point, like I'm 18 years old and I'm playing, I was a metalhead. And I heard this was like 1986. And I'm listening to, and I tell you, that album for that summer, the album for me was Rage for Order and Iron Maiden's Somewhere in Time. And I started hearing Toto and Steely Dan, and I went and bought those records and started learning like everything I can. And then I went that took me into a much deeper dive of music theory, because I was already into my dive of theory, but I was like, what's going on here? What is this chord? What are we playing? It was like, that's kind of, and that was like 3 or 4 solid, about 3 solid years of just focusing on that till about 89, 88, maybe even up to 88, maybe 2 years. And then I caught the bug. I heard Johnny Marr from the Smiths, and I was like, what the hell is he doing now? This guy's playing clean, jangly guitar. What's he doing? And then I heard The Cure and all these other bands, and I was like, oh, I got to learn this style now too. And so what I did was, like around 89, I got into a band that we were playing that stuff, because it would force me to learn to play it, really. And that took me till about 91. And around 91, I started getting back into, the metal was making more of like a grunge comeback. Alice in Chains' Facelift came out, and Corrosion of Conformity came out with Blind, and that was it. I got sucked back into metal for a few years. And but at the same time, I'm still listening to everything, but as far as like what I was focusing on playing wise. Back in the late 80s, I really got into Robin Guthrie too, from Cocteau Twins, and all the ethereal sounding guitar parts and stuff and layering stuff. And so, and at that time I was also listening to a lot of King Crimson from the 80s. But I listened to everything, but I mean, it's just, so at that point, like a lot of the shred players, like Paul Gilbert and all that stuff, that was kind of like, I didn't appreciate that till I got a little older, because I didn't go back to shred guitar. It was much more about songs for me, and playing within songs. Also in the mid to late 80s, I got into country. But that was much more on my acoustic guitar. And it wasn't until 1996, I went and saw Steve Wariner at the Roxy on Sunset. A buddy of mine calls me up and he's like, hey, Steve's playing, blah, blah. I go, I'll pick you up, let's go. So we drove to the gig. We went to go see Steve Wariner. And I didn't know at the time, but he had just put out an album called No More Mr. Nice Guy, which was basically a record of him showing off instrumental guitar. At that time, I didn't even know he was a guitar player. I just thought he was the singer on these records that I had by him. And he came out and started playing, and I'm like, oh my God, what the hell is he playing? That devastated me. I was just like, there were guys that play like this, and this is the fucking singer of the damn band? It was unbelievable. So then I went down that rabbit hole, and it wasn't until like 2001 or 2002 when I started working with a country singer that I actually had to play that stuff live. But during that time, I became friendly with Frank Gambale, and Frank used to come out to the gigs. He was a super supportive, super nice guy. But Frank would come to the gigs. And so it's like, not only am I having to chicken pick and play my ass off, but I have to look down on stage and see fucking Frank Gambale standing there looking at me. And I'm like, I remember that at Molly Malone's. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I also remember playing a gig at the Mayan Theater for John Taylor, and standing right in front of me, in front of my rig, was his rig, but it was Randy Piper from Wasp, and the whole time, like, he was there with his girlfriend, and he looked bored. But the last song is a song where we get to play whatever we want, like it's like a big solo. So I started shredding, and afterwards, backstage, I brought Randy back there, and Randy was like, dude, the whole show I'm watching you going, what the hell is this guy doing? You're just playing, he goes, I know you're playing for the gig. He goes, but man, the last song, he goes, I was telling my girlfriend how good you were. And he goes, and finally you started playing towards the end. I said, yeah, it's the only time I get to stretch. That was the set, man. I don't get to go and fucking just do what I want to do on his, he had a record. I had to play all the solos that was on his record and whatever. Oh, Steve's he's my hero as far as just as a human being. He's just great. Oh, the Telly stuff is just nuts. And what's funny is when you watch him play it, what took me the longest to do it is the right hand when you're hybrid picking. That's the hard part. As far as, like, if you're already a metal player and you have some type of dexterity in your left hand, you realize when you're doing the country stuff, the left hand's not doing that much. It's the right that makes the movements. So it's like, there's a lot of stuff you gotta practice the rolls. And in the rolls, especially if you never play it, it's very tough to switch your brain off into thinking like let's say you're doing a descending lick. Well, if you're doing a descending lick, you're playing like the second string on the 8th fret, the second string on the 7th fret, and then to play the E, you roll to the higher string. So you're going descending, but your finger is picking a higher string. That you've got to do slow for hours. You just got to practice that because your brain goes, what the fuck is going on? Why am I going higher and the note's going lower? So when you're doing the rolls and stuff, you really, when you're doing like descending cascading things, you have to understand, even though you're going to a higher string, you're going to a lower note. So once you get your brain wrapped around that, playing it slowed down, then you can speed it up. But it's one of those things that, like, when I show students like a simple roll or a simple scale cascading, it's like showing, it doesn't matter how long they've been playing. it's like showing a beginner all over again. They look at it like, because your brain just goes, wait, what? It's fucking whacked. And that is the hardest thing about the chicken picking is to me is that is the movements of what you're picking and knowing that it's a lower note but you're going higher up on the guitar. So it's just like I said, it's one of those things where your brain goes, what? Like honestly, for me it was like when I learned it, I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Then once you get it down, there were different players. There's a guy from the band The Mavericks who came into the store, and I didn't know who he was, and he was playing in the corner, and I was like, wait a minute, who the fuck is this guy? So I grab a guitar off the wall with a cable, and I walk over to him, plug in the amp next to him, and I go, guess who's showing me that lick he just played? And he starts laughing. He goes, oh, which one? I said, you know the one. That descending, that line. So he shows me, and I was like, oh, that's a cool way to, it was just a minor tweak of what I already knew, but the tweak was so cool. No, his name was Eddie something. I forget his name, but he was the guitar player for the Mavericks. I can't remember his last name. It was like a Hispanic name. Great player. So then I showed him and I said, I do something similar to what you're doing, but I can only do it going up. So I played it for him and he goes, uh-oh, you got to show me that one. And then what's funny is I watched that Steve Wariner interview the other day and he did the walking up one and I'm like, man, that's where I got it from. I knew I had heard it before, I didn't know where, but it was Wariner in one of his songs. And so anyways, I showed it to him and he was just like, so then I felt like I wasn't just ripping licks from him. I don't know. People get busy in their life. It's not like he needs to do it. And I know he was doing his channel a couple of years ago because he was recording and it was always in his studio and he was showing songs that he was recording. And I think when he stopped, he just, took a break. Plus his kid is gigging and he probably just has life to do, when you're, he was great. Was it Guitar Laboratory? Yeah, he's a young guy. Look, and he's playing all the time. I mean, I see he's in Nashville all the time. I have friends that live in Nashville, and they'll message me and be like, Warren is playing tonight down here. I'm like, oh, God, I really got to run down there sometime. Like, I'm a Warren fan, like, not just his playing. I love the songs. Like, I could listen to Drive. I think Drive's a great album. I think the album before that, what's that called? I Am Ready. That's a great album. Laredo's a great album. I Got Dreams is a great album. I Should Be With You is a great album. The best album, I think, is the 87. What's that one called? It's a Crazy World. And then the one before it, Life's Highway. Those are all awesome, awesome records. Yeah, he played with Dottie West early on when he was young. And I like some of the early, like, Lonely Women Make Good Lovers. That was okay. And I always thought, like, something Fire. I can't remember what the name of that song is. Or what's that other one? Why Goodbye. I always thought Why Goodbye was okay, but when he came out with Life's Highway, that's a perfect album in '85. Life's Highway by Steve Wariner. Every song on it's awesome, just great. And after that, every album after that, I loved. Up until Drive, which I think he took a few years off and then came out with that other. Then he did the guitar record, No More Mr. Nice Guy. But Drive is that's a great record. But again, it's not just the guitar playing for me, the songs. I love those songs. I love those records. To me, it's like, and to me, that's what's more important is the songs than the playing. you know, All Roads Lead to You. That was later, All Roads Lead to You. Oh no, All Roads Lead to You. Was that the early one that I'm thinking of that had Why Goodbye? And he does an early version of Baby I'm Yours is early. And I like the later one. Baby I'm yours. Yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, I think after All Roads Lead to You, it's flawless. Like Life's Highway to me is so awesome. Um, Back up, grinning again. I love Back Up, Grinning Again. I love Natural History. That album. Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. Yeah, I love all that stuff. Like, and to me, it's about the songs. You know, like on Drive, he does One Believer. That's a beautiful song. On Drive, he does Driving and Crying. That's another beautiful song. And then, of course, you know, the big one was when he came out with Small Town Girl in The Weekend. I think he was Artist of the Year or Album of the Year that year in '87. And the song It's a Crazy World, written by Matt McNally. And what's the other song that was written by Dave Loggins on that album? If I could make a living out of loving you. If I could make a living out of loving you is great. That was a Dave Loggins tune. But The Weekend is awesome. Why Do the Heroes Die So Young? There's always a first time. Oh, there's always a first time. I can relate to every one of his songs. Totally. Chris, that happens so often for me because I was an album guy. And that's why I do my list, because I'm like, listen, some of these songs that you buy an album for, the rest of the album is so much better. You know, and you're missing out, you know. I used to play I Should Be With You, which was an open G tuning, but it's in drop C. He drops the low D string to a C, but the rest is open G. I love that song. On the plane to California. Oh, I love that too. Such great, I mean, his playing is so beautiful. And Running on that album, you keep running. Running from my mind like the taxi in the streets, like vintage wine, like the river so close that runs so deep. Run any way you want, but baby, run to me. Oh, it's great. Oh, and on that album too was, this is all on I Should Be With You. Hold on, just a little closer. Oh, fuck. Like I said, I mean, I love all his tunes. And the fact that he could play, like when I saw him play in '96, I was like, are you kidding me? You know what I mean? It was like, it was mind blowing. No, we talk about doing Driving and Crying because years ago I made a CD for my singer. And I put a bunch of country. Oh, I've done them on the channel. I've taught The Weekend. I've taught Small Town Girl. I think I did the solo to Driving and Crying. But I've done a bunch of Warner on the channel, for sure. Again, you know what's fucked up? You know, it's like, again, I do this because I like to remember myself how these songs go. And when I do these songs, like, nobody's watching them. Like I did Imperial Drag, Illuminate, because I think that song is fucking awesome. It's one of my favorite rock songs ever. And I know nobody's going to look it up to learn how to play it. And that's okay. If one person who loves the song finds it and learns how to play it from my channel, I'll be happy. And I'll be like, all right, that was cool. But in general, I'm not posting it for people to I do it for me, you know what I mean? Oh, you watched it? Yeah, I mean, I love that tune. And just, I'm thinking about doing Spider also from that same album, Imperial Drag. Spider, come back. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I think about it. I'm like, no one's gonna learn. Like, there's some songs. I taught a Maxwell song called "Till the Cops Come Knocking." Do I think anyone on my channel's watching it? If they watch it, they just because they like my channel and they're gonna watch it. They don't want to know how to play it. They should because it's great jazz chords that you should understand the movements because it's Jazz 101 if you're really trying to get into it. But that Maxwell album, Urban Hang Suite, is one of the greatest R&B records of all time. It's phenomenal. And trust me, I have a ton of R&B records. And I'll tell you right now that the most overrated R&B album of all time is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Because Marvin Gaye, you've got What's Going On, Mercy Me, which is the exact same song with different lyrics, and then you have Inner City Blues, and the rest of the album is filler. And I hate to tell people this, don't say it's one of the best albums of all time. It's not. It's got 3 phenomenal songs in filler. And it's not even the best album of 1971. Is it a good album? It's a very good album. Some of the filler songs are nice to listen to, but they're not gonna, they're not great. They're good. But the 3 songs are fantastic. But yeah, exactly. It's a good album. So people talk like that. But if you compare that album to Ross Stylus, Pushing Against the Flow, which I commented, which is an R&B record out of England from 95, Pushing Against the Flow blows it away. Every song on that album is phenomenal. Maxwell, Urban Hang Suite, blows it away. Every song on that's a 9, a solid 9 at least. And then you have the brand new Heavies, Brother Sister, blows it away. Those 3 albums are better than that. But no one's talking about these 3 albums. Instead, they're talking about Marvin Gaye. Oh, it's such a great. Of course, you know why? Because that Breathe album came out in 1988, and I bought the album, and I couldn't believe how every song on it was great. Every song on that album's great. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody. And you know what? We play it live. We do it live. And we have a lot of fun with it because to me it's like, it's one of those songs that's like, these are great chords. And I don't think anybody's going to teach you the chords the way they sound on the record the way I did because I looked up a couple of people playing it and I'm like, what the fuck? They're just playing triads. Like they're not hearing that the first chord is an E add 9, the second chord's a major 7, then there's that F sharp minor 7 add sharp 11. Oh no, F sharp minor 7 add 11, and then there's the again the A sus 2. Nobody's teaching it with the extensions that are in the song, and that's a shame. Because anyone can sit there and play a campfire version of the song. It doesn't sound good to me. To me, you got to have you play that first chord. I always feel like the second we play that chord, everyone's going to know the song. Yeah, it's simple enough, but no one, and nobody's playing it with the extensions. Exactly. That's what makes, to me, that's what makes it and when you play that E add 9, you're like, okay, this sounds familiar. And then you go to the A major 7 with the 7 on top. Forget about it. You go, oh, I know what this is. You can hear it right away. Because that chord and the voicing is the giveaway. And that's what you want. You want it to sound like it. And then you get people like, that watch my channel and they're like, you're not playing it like the guy played it on the record. No, that guy's playing with a keyboard, an orchestra, and another guy's playing piano. They're all playing part of the chord. And if I just showed you the part the guitar player played, what the fuck am I doing? Like, you're not going to play acoustic guitar and do it like that. And I'm not going to show you the chord just as the triads, because that would be ridiculous too. Hands to Heaven and How Can I Fall were huge radio hits here. I remember the Blow Monkeys. You know what came in my feed the other day was the Cramps. And I'm like, oh, I remember the name of that band. I always thought they were like a punk band. And then I watched them. I watched like 2 or 3 songs live. My jaw was on the floor. And it wasn't because they were good, because they aren't. But it was the fact that it was just simple rockabilly with absurd vocalists. I was just like, this is punk? This is silly. I couldn't believe they were as, like, I remember people used to walk around with the Cramps t-shirts when I was a kid, and I was like, and you asked them, and it's like, oh, it's punk. That is not punk. I'm sorry. That is silly fucking rockabilly. And I'll say it again, there's only one punk band, and that's the Sex Pistols. Everything else to me is pop. Or you can find it where it is. But that is just like rockabilly. I just thought it was silly. I mean, I can see the draw, like somebody could like it, but I would never sit there. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it was on the radio enough. Yeah, that's what they look like. They look like a fun, like, it reminded me of like Reverend Horton Heat, and I don't really know his stuff, but it reminds me of what I would imagine it would be, which is like rockabilly, high energy rockabilly. It wasn't offensive. I just thought it wasn't. In fact, I was like, oh, my buddy sent me, I can't remember what band he wanted me to check out. He was talking about some band, and I was like, I don't even know who the fuck they are. And he sent me a song, and I'm like, this is the B-52s with a straight guy singing. Just put the gay voice on it. It's, what's the difference between this and the B-52s? It's the same. Oh, he was so mad. He was like, it's not, that doesn't sound. I'm like, yeah, it does. To me, it does. I don't know what LJR is. What state is that in? Oh, really? I like the B-52s. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I like the first 2 records. I liked Whammy. I loved, I thought when Cosmic Thing came out, oh, you see? I've never even, so I had a buddy that was into Reverend Horton Heat. I've never heard a song by them, but he was a buddy of mine in Venice. And I remember him going to the show, and I said, what is it? He says, it's crazy, rockabilly, high energy. And I'm like, okay. So I had no idea. When I saw the Cramps, I was like, this is what Reverend Horton Heat must be like, because it reminds me of what he described. Oh, that's wild. Yeah, I'm in Boston, and we had like BRU from in Providence, which was Brown University. That had like a lot of like alternative and punk, but wasn't really my thing. But I did like Cosmic Thing by I thought Topaz living in I am living on Channel Z. I thought that was a cool. I thought that whole record was good with Rome. I mean, it was melodic and it was fun. I used to like Debbie was a good song by the B-52s, and I used to like, what's the song? Heavy Equipment. We're in the basement. Legal Tender. That was a good song. I liked them. But but growing up, like when they came out with like uh I thought it was like Devo derivative and not as good. When I first heard like she came from Planet Claire, I know she came from there. I thought it was a little campy as opposed to where I thought Devo was more my feel. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Don Was, if I'm not mistaken, who did Cosmic Thing. I'm pretty sure it was Don Was. And yeah. Yeah, I forget who the other guy was too. Yeah, you're right. There was another guy there. Yeah, I saw something where they where at least one of them lives up there, the girl, the one that's married to another girl. I'm not 100% sure. It's not like a band. Like I said, I don't really follow much stuff. But if I see it, I'll remember. I remember it. That makes sense. I love Nile Rodgers. I mean, I love Nile Rodgers in his peak when he was doing Chic, Sister Sledge, and then Diana Ross. Those like 3 years from 78, 79, and 80, Nile Rodgers was on top of the world for me as far as what he was doing, his writing and playing. Yeah, they were awesome. The first three records, I think, was right 78, 79, and 80, right? 79, I think, was Le Freak. Say Chic, I think, was the record. They were great. And if you like Chic, then you would like a lot of the acid jazz movement that came out of England in the 90s, because acid jazz really was like a nod to Chic, really. So you had bands like Mondo Grosso, who did Invisible Man, and you had what's the band? You guys might know this, maybe you don't. What's the band that did that song? You're still a friend of mine. You're still a friend of mine. Still a friend of mine. And of course, the Brand New Heavies. But what was that other band? What are they called? Begins with an I. Incognito. All that stuff. Incognito, Ross Stylus, the Brand New Heavies. All were like the acid jazz, were like a nod to the late 70s Chic. Except I think it's better. I do think it is better. Well, maybe Brand New Heavies was better. Ross Stylus was better. Maybe not Incognito. Incognito I always thought was a little bit on the pulse. It wasn't that good, but they had Still a Friend of Mine was a great tune. And they had a couple of other good songs. But the acid jazz was that, but it was a little bit more jazzy, if you will. More jazz chords, and oh yeah, was he on that? Yeah. But Incognito was good, man. I liked Incognito. And a lot of that stuff got overlooked. Like, to me, the whole acid jazz thing, like what was going on, and you know what really started it, like most of it, was a hit in the United States, and then they didn't follow up with any other acts, but the band Soul to Soul. When you heard like Keep On Moving and Back to Life, Back to Reality, those two songs that Karen Wheeler sung for Soul to Soul, that was like the whole start of the acid jazz movement. No, I didn't see that. Because then Karen Wheeler had a solo album after that Soul to Soul album, and she had a great song called Living in the Light, which I thought was awesome. Have to survive living in the light. Had to survive living in the light. Oh, all that stuff was Children of Nature. Awesome. But again, nothing as good as... Now, I don't know if you guys know the Brand New Heavies, the lead singer on Brother Sister, the album that I say is the best. Well, the first two albums was a woman named India Davenport. Now, do you guys remember Tone Loc's solo record? When Tone Loc put out that record, he had a song called Chiba Chiba. India's the girl singing, I said Chiba, Chiba Chiba. That was India. She's awesome. Just awesome. One of my favorite singers ever. Yeah. Funky Cold Medina is on that record. The Wild Thing is on that record. But Chiba Chiba is the one that had India Davenport singing. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, acid jazz was a music that just got fucking completely overlooked in the States. And I think it was a big mistake. And I'll tell you, like Janet Jackson back then was borrowing a lot from that whole style when she did Rhythm Nation, right? I mean, Rhythm Nation, you have the guitar part is really just thank you for letting me be myself. But all those later songs are like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation album. There's 3 slow songs at the end of the album. Someday is Tonight, Come Back to Me. And what was the other one? All your life you've waited. Ba-da-da-da. Those 3 mellow songs are so fucking great. Anita Baker was a little earlier and was totally, she's the Michael McDonald of female soul, right? So from beginning to end, 365 days of the year, I get the same old love. I always thought Anita Baker was the Michael McDonald of female singing. I liked her. I saw her live, actually. She opened up for Luther Vandross live, and I saw her live. I think that was 89 or 88. Sweet Love. What's the Anita Baker song I taught on this channel? I taught a song from Anita Baker on this channel. Let me try to think of what it was. What the hell was the song that I taught? I can think of it. It's in B flat. Oh. What were the other hits on that album? Oh, Rapture. No, was it Rapture I taught? No, it wasn't Rapture. Solo Noi was your wedding band? No, not giving you the best that I got. What's the song that goes ba da 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 ba 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 da 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 da? Sweet Love. Okay, I taught Sweet Love on this channel for sure. Sweet Love. I should do a mashup of Sweet Love and Trust Sweet Freedom. There we go, the female and the male Michael McDonald in a song. Yeah, I taught Sweet Love. Beautiful. Like, I love that type of music. I think those beautiful chords with nice extensions, just great. Sweet Love was your wedding song? Yeah. Yeah, that's the one that I taught on the channel. But I'll tell you, you want to fall asleep, put on Maxwell Urban Hang Suite, and it's some of the best R&B shit you're going to hear. But it's downbeat, you know what I mean? It's Sweet Love Freedom. Try Sweet Love Freedom, hide the light on me. Sweet love. You could have her in the background, right? She's going, try sweet free, sweet love, hide the light on me. I got my feeling up. And she comes in with the other half. Be great. She had a great band. I loved all that stuff, though. Like I said, I think that's like unsung stuff. There's so much stuff I listen to. Like, I'm not a big Japan fan. I think they're good. I like Japan. I don't love Japan. But I love David Sylvian solo. I think solo, he took it somewhere so much into an interesting space. It was nuts. Quit already? Oh, when you saw the Doobies? Yeah, some of these bands, they keep going, and I don't really understand. You know, it's funny because I saw the Stones twice in 2006. And a buddy of mine was saying how horrible Mick Jagger is live. And I said, I got to tell you something. The second time I saw them was Dodger Stadium, and Mick sounded awful. And I would have never saw them had I known that's how he was going to sing. Because I saw them over the summer at the 2006, I saw him at the LA Forum, and he was singing awesome. And you can look him up mid 2006 online, go watch the Stones, and it's unbelievable how good Mick sounds. And I don't know how old he was then, so that's 20 years ago. He's in his 80s, so he's in his 60s, and they sounded great. Oh, that must have been fun. That sounds like a good show. I remember when Living Color was opening for them. 88, yeah. It was when they were doing Cult of Personality, right? They were still doing that first album. It was before, no, I'm sorry, the second album I think had come out by then that had like Stereotype. We are the leaders of concrete and steel. I just think when you see Mick at big places, he tries to project and he's shouting a lot and more shouting than singing. And when you see him at a small club, I think there's a Beacon Theater show that's on YouTube from 2006. And you hear him doing Shattered and he sounds fucking great. Yeah. Cult of Personality, Open Letter to a Landlord. My issue, so here's a funny story for you. My issue I always had with Living Color was I thought the band was great. The singer kind of sang like Stevie Ray Vaughan to me. He had a Stevie Ray Vaughan type of voice. That kind of bothered me. I didn't think his voice was that great, but it was good. But I thought the guitar player, and I'm sorry, Vernon, if you're watching, I just thought it's not my cup of tea. It was not my cup of tea at all. I thought he was all over the place and his tone was terrible. And I remember I was at Tower Records, and I want to say it's either 91 or 92, and they're playing an album called Strength in Numbers by 24/7 Spies. And I'm in the store just looking at albums. And this was on a Monday night. And so, because at Monday night at midnight, they would stay open till 12:30, and they would sell any new release so they could say it was sold on Tuesday. I don't know if you remember, they used to have releases were only being sold on Tuesdays back then. And they were playing 24/7 Strength in Numbers, and I'm listening to it, and a song goes by, and I'm like, well, this is good. Then another song comes on, and I walk up to the front desk, and I'm like, am I crazy? Did Living Color all of a sudden become talented? And the guy starts laughing. And he goes, why would you say that? I said, because it reminds me of Living Color if they were good. And the guy showed me, he goes, no, this is a brand new album released by 24/7 Spies called Strength in Numbers. It's going to be released in 15 minutes. I'm like, put one aside, I'm buying it. And I did. And it was I still to this day say it's in my top 5 albums of the 90s. That album is ridiculous. It is so good. And in fact, when I got Ray Lucia from Korn to play drums for me in the studio, we did a couple of tracks, and I was basically, Ray was awesome. Ray was like, I sat with him and I told him how I wanted the field to be, and we played the song down a few times, and I was like, I want it to be like this, and over this section I wanted to, and he was really great at listening and playing back exactly what I had asked. And so we did it. And I sent it to Jimmy Hazel from 24/7 Spies, because at this point I'm buddies with him. And he said to me, I can't believe you got, I got the drummer that was on Strength in Numbers on it. And I go, which was Joel. And I said, that's not Joel, that's Ray Luzier. He goes, would you get him playing everything the way Joel would play? And I go, I guess that's what I love. I love that sound. It was very funny. But those guys from 24/7 Spies, I will say, every one of those guys are fantastic, great guys. And that album, Strength in Numbers, to me, is like top 5 of the 90s. Love it. And I remember playing the album when I was in the studio one time. I used to do a lot of session work, and I'm working with a guy named Lee Carreri. And Lee's just an awesome piano player, just a great player. And Lee was very super supportive of the Big Angry when we started. And, he had seen us a bunch of times. And I said, you want to know the sound that the sound that I love? What I hear is, and I want it to be somewhat soul like this. And I played him 24/7 Spies. I remember Lee was just like, how the fuck did these guys not get huge? This is incredible. I said, I know. It's just one of those records that went through the cracks and nobody cared. He's like, this is so fucking good. I know. In fact, the opening song that I play on all my lessons, the to me is totally inspired by Jimmy Hazel and 24/7 Spies. That is like, because when we put the band together, the idea was I wanted it to be like if Stevie Wonder played heavy metal. In that intro alone, you have it's a couple of minor chords, but then you have the B flat major 7 to the E flat major 7 sharp 11. Who the fuck in metal is playing an E flat major 7 sharp 11? Nobody. But I love the way, I love those kind of chords and that kind of harmony in chords. And it's in the song. I do a lesson on the song too and go into it a little bit, but that was really my mindset on it, was like, I wanted it to have a soulful feel. And oh, okay, so I was working with a guitar builder, and we were building guitars, and they had a website up, and I messaged Jimmy, and I said, hey, listen, if I can get a guitar to you. Oh, actually, how I first met them was, I was at a buddy of mine. I'm working at a restaurant in Boston in '93, and 24/7 Spies put out an album called Temporarily Disconnected. And it was the original members back with the band. It was all 4 of the original members. And I said to one of the guys who I got a job as a cook there, he was a buddy of mine I used to shoot pool with. And I said, Paul, you want to go see 24/7 Spies? He goes, fuck yeah, because I got him into it. So I said, well, after work, let's drive over to Bunratty's. Let's get tickets, and then we'll go back home, change, shower, and then head out, grab a bite to eat, and go see them. So he's like, okay. So, and you guys might realize that I'm a little bit of a wise ass. You may not notice that from my shows or at all, because I'm a very loud, outspoken person, but it's all in good fun. I like to laugh. I love to have a fun and a good time. So we get there, and 2 of the guys are sitting in chaise lounge chairs in front of the club. And I walk up to these guys, I go, hey, any of you guys have a job and can sell me I thought they worked for the club, so I'm busting balls. I'm like, any of you guys have a job and can sell me a ticket to tonight's show? And the guy looked up and he's like, what do you want to, who are you trying to see? I said 24/7 Spies. He goes, you like them? I go, oh, they're fucking awesome. I can't tell you how pumped I am to see the show. And they're like, we're the band. I'm like, oh, you guys are? They're like, yeah. And he goes, come on, you got to go meet Jimmy. He's the guitar player, because I told him I play guitar. So now I go in, and Jimmy's in there doing like a sound check. I talk to Jimmy. Jimmy gives me his guitar. He's like, here, play this. So I stopped playing his guitar rig, and he was just showing me his pedals and shit, whatever he had. his amp has actually had like an ADA or something, um, and so we just became, and so then we were talking for like maybe an hour. And I'm like, hey, wait a second. Can I get tickets to this fucking gig tonight? I'll pay you for the tickets. They're like, no, here's tickets. So they gave me tickets for me and my buddy Paul. And then they were like, hey, where's a place around here we can get some ice cream? And I said, Steve's Ice Cream's up at the end of the street. And they're like, how far? I'm like, just hop in Paul's truck with us. We'll all go for ice cream. So the 6 of us all went up to this little ice cream parlor, sat inside. We all got like sundaes and shit. It was this little place called Steve's. And we sat and ate ice cream. And then afterwards, we went back and dropped them off. And Jimmy goes, wait 1 second. He goes back in. He gives me like one of the first concert shirts from their very first tour that he had, brand new. And he's like, hey, take this shirt, dude. And I'm like, thanks. And so then we went to the show, got to talk to them a little bit after, and that was it. I didn't talk to them for years. When I was working with a guitar company, I reached out to them. And I said, hey, this is a long shot. I don't know if you remember when we played in Boston and these 2 guys took you out for ice cream. And he goes, dude, I fucking remember you like it was yesterday. I go, and he's like, I'm going to be in LA in a couple of weeks. And so we all hooked up when he got into town. And I've been in contact with him ever since. I mean, I talk to him every now and then. We're on Facebook together. So when it's his birthday and stuff, we talk. But we shoot the shit every now and then, him and Rick, the bass player. And, but yeah. I don't remember the Gigolo ones. I was probably in LA. But anyways, that's how I became friends with the Spies. And like I said, they're all really, really super great guys. And that album is still, to this day. And Temporarily Disconnected, I liked it. But then afterwards, they got Joel back on drums. And to me, I like his drumming so much better than Anthony in 24/7. So the guy on Strength in Numbers, that's the band that I love. But I do think in Heavy Metal Soul by the Pound, or it's called Six, depending on which version you get, that's a fantastic album. They're just great. Also, I saw them, they played at the Viper Room one night. They opened for, I don't know if did they open or did the other band open for them? They played with a band called Year of the Dragon, which was Walter Kibbe from Fishbone's new band. And they were fantastic. And we hung out with all those guys up there at the Viper Room. Hey, have a great one. Thanks so much for hanging out. Oh, I love Anthrax. I'm a huge Anthrax fan. I loved Anthrax. I loved this, is it Spreading the Disease? That's a great record. Madhouse. What else was on those little? Of course, the Indians. They were great. And then I liked them even more when John Bush started singing with them. And then, John Bush from Armored Saint was the singer. And then when they got back together with Joey Belladonna for worship music, I was like, how is this band the best they've ever been? I think worship music and for all, I tell people all the time, if you're going to get 2 Anthrax albums, worship music and For All Kings is so fucking great. Oh, yeah, Bring the Noise. Bring the Noise. Yeah, that was great. You have to understand, I fucking love Chuck D. Chuck D, that voice on Chuck D, the rap voice he does, he's the greatest. That Bring the Noise is so great with Chuck. I mean, what was the other Public Enemy? The one, I can't do nothing for you, man. Flavor Flav's got problems of his own. Go lean on Shell's Answer Man. Fear of a Black Planet, is that the album? They were great. I loved all that stuff. So I was into all that stuff too. Like, I listened to everything. So I was big into, like, back in the late 80s, Black Sheep, A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing with Drez. Drez, D-R-E-S. Yes, I guess I can start. If you don't mind, I will tear this whole rap apart. I loved Black Sheep. I loved Tribe Called Quest. See, I hung around with different buddies of mine, and each guy was into different stuff. One of my buddies was into a lot of rap, and I loved that stuff back then. I totally get it, you know. It's funny because a little earlier in the '80s, I thought the rap stuff was kind of corny. Stuff like they're playing basketball. No. But I love that stuff. What was the other Special Ed, Eric B. and Rakim. That late 80s, early 90s rap was fantastic. I used to like Gangstar. I love Guru. I think Guru Jazzmatazz Volume 1 is one of the best rap albums, and that was him without DJ Premier from Gangstar. But I love that stuff. And again, India Davenport's on that record. Johnny was a big Curtis Blow fan. Or what was the other? You ever hear Granddaddy IU? The funniest rap song I ever heard used to be the "You Is Smooth" by Granddaddy IU, or Scenes at the Mall. That guy was hilarious. I like all of it. I mean, to me, it's all music. It's just a different. You put a different seasoning on it. I mean, I think the Roots are a great band, and there's so much great stuff. I find there's good in everything except for the Grateful Dead and Bob Dylan and Lou Reed. Anything else I find I can find something in Neil Young. Anything else I can find redeeming. I can't find anything redeeming in any of those artists. Well, Neil Young, I'm probably being a little hard on. I actually think Down by the River is good. I think Harvest Moon is good. In general, I just don't care for him. But Lou Reed, Bob Dylan, The Grateful Dead. Yeah. I just don't find anything redeeming in the music. And I understand that people can like it, and I'm like, all right, that's fine, but I don't. And I would never, ever, like, listen. If it was on the radio, I would change it. I just don't care for it. It just doesn't do anything for me, and I'd rather listen to static between the channels than any of those. Yeah, you think so? I think Harvest Moon is a pretty song by Neil Young. Like I said, I'm being hard on Neil Young because I also think the song that he wrote that he did that I don't care for, but I like Nicolette Larson singing it, was Lotta Love. I think Lotta Love's a great song. But like Lou Reed used to talk about Zappa and said Zappa's got no talent. It's like, really? What do you live in a fun house at your house? You don't have a mirror? Take a look at yourself, dude. Your music's terrible. Terrible. Sweet Jane, please. I always say, if for some reason I ever committed a crime that they had to put me to death, I would be like, yeah, play a Lou Reed. What last request? Play a Lou Reed song. Oh, you like Lou Reed? No. But it'll be the longest 3 fucking minutes of my life. I'll be begging for you to flick that switch. Just flick it now. Flick it before it gets to the chorus. Oh, there's no chorus? Just flick it. Fuck. You know what else I was hard on recently was, because I've talked about it before on lives, is AC/DC's For Those About to Rock. I used to think the album was crap, and I listened to it the other day, and I'm like, I used to listen to this album nonstop. It's actually a lot better than I thought it was. So a lot of good songs on it. I don't know what the hell song ought to turn me off to it that I stopped listening to it, but it's good. I would say that Flick of the Switch is a better album, but I think I'm lying to myself. Because I think that For Those About to Rock's probably a better album, but Flick of the Switch is so underrated that I feel like I have to boost it up. But I would have to say that those three albums, Back in Black, For Those About to Rock, and Flick of the Switch, are three must-own Brian Johnson records. And I would say the three must-own Bon Scott albums, and people get mad when I say Highway to Hell, but Highway to Hell's phenomenal. Highway to Hell, Powerage, and I gotta tell you, I don't love Let There Be Rock. I don't love High Voltage. I would probably give it to fucking Dirty Deeds album, because I think that whole album's good, except for, Big Balls is kind of silly, but overall, I think it's a great record. Exactly. Steve Jordan's a great drummer. I'm a big fan of Steve Jordan on the album Talk Is Cheap by Keith Richards. I think that's an underrated album. And I think it's the third best Stones album of the 80s. And, it's funny, I was talking to some guys the other day, we were talking about the Stones. So, every time I talk to a Stones fan, they all tell me, you got to admit Exile's the best album. And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't even like the album. So what did I do? I listened to it twice last week while I'm out here smoking. I have a speaker here. I listen to Spotify. I put it on twice. The second time through, I went through and said, okay, these are the songs. I'm going to mark down what song I can listen to and what song I have to fast forward through. And there was 8 songs that I can listen to on that album. 8. I'm like, these guys are out of their minds. That album. I love Emotional Rescue. I think Emotional Rescue is the second best Stones album, and I'm unapologetic about it. I think from the opening track to the last song on the album, there isn't a bad song. It's great. I think that album is unbelievable. In fact, there are times when I'll sit there and say, I'm confused if it's either that or Some Girls that's the best. But I will say it is the second best Stones album. The third, and so I was arguing with, the reason I brought up is I was arguing with these guys. They're buddies of mine. We were arguing about Stones album. These guys both were like, Tattoo You's a much better album. And I'm like, it's not. It's not even close. I think Emotional Rescue not only is the second best album, I think Tattoo You might be the 5th or 6th best album. I'd rather listen to Let It Bleed. I'd rather listen to Sticky Fingers, although I can't stand I Got the Blues. It's Only Rock and Roll's pretty good. I think the one after Black and Blue is good. I think Tattoo You's a great record. I just think that Neighbors, Hang Fire, Black Limousine, I could do without. I like Memory Motel. I like that album. I like How I Wish. Is How I Wish the solo record? I always get How I Wish by him confused with, what's the song? Oh, Hands of Fate. How I Wish on the solo record and Hands of Fate are very similar. The Hands of Fate. I love Fool to Cry. I love Fingerprint File off of It's Only Rock and Roll. I just think It's Only Rock and Roll. I think side one's very good. I think side two, like, If You Want to Be My Friend and a couple of those other songs, I'm just like, well, these are filler and not great. And then, of course, you get the Fingerprint File at the end, and you're like, this is the greatest tune ever. But I don't know why Emotional Rescue gets so much hate. I think people don't like the song, and the song to me is like, I think it's a great song. It's totally a different direction the Stones were trying, and it works. She's So Cold might be a little pop, but it's not syrupy pop like Hang Fire. But Down in the Hole, Where the Boys Go, Little Indian Girl, Send It to Me, Summer Romance, Dance Part 1, that record's fucking awesome. Oh, that's cool. Goat's Head Soup I didn't love. What's on Goat's Head Soup? Star, Star, right? Starfucker, Starfucker. Heartbreakers on that album. Winter. I think it's an okay album. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think it's good. Is Angie on that one? Is that Angie too? On Goat's Head? So we got Angie, Heartbreaker. Yeah, do. And Star Star. What else is on that record? Winter. Man, a bumblebee just came in here. The thing's the size of a bird. It's like the size of a hummingbird, this bumblebee. Yeah, I like the Stones. I don't love the Stones, but I like them. But like I said, to me, when I hear Exile, like, I think Tumbling Dice is awesome. I think Rocks Off is good. I think Rip This Joint is good. I think Happy's great. I think Loving Cup is good. Shine a Light's okay. What else is on? All Down the Line is okay. Well, that Keith record, actually, not only is the Keith Talk Is Cheap album brilliant, but the second one with 999, and Eileen, won't you lean on me? That's a very good album too, Main Offender. I think both his solo records are great. Talk Is Cheap is the better one though, but they're both great records. No. I'm actually intrigued by the Stones that so many of their songs that are very similar. I mean, Monkey Man is a brilliant tune. And I think the songs on Sticky Fingers are just great. Moonlight Miles, great. Bitch. You sued Vic? Keith? Eileen. Like I said, there's just so much good music. Though we sued Mick. I remember when Talk Is Cheap came out. That's like 87. So 89, I drove down to New York City with a couple of buddies of mine. Oh, really? I didn't know that. And I went into some place and they had that same skull ring that he had, and I bought it. I still have it somewhere in the house. But I had that Keith skull ring, and the guy was like, "Yeah, Keith lives like 2 blocks over on top of Tower Records. He had a condo there for years in the Village." Um, the what was the song they didn't get sued? They ended up giving Katie Lang credit for, because they basically stole Constant Craving. What was, oh, Anybody Seen My Baby? Anybody seen my, yeah, they played it for, I forget if, I think it was Keith's daughter. They played it for her, and she's like, "You guys are gonna get sued. This is already a song." And then she played them Constant Craving, and they were like, "Oh, we didn't even know." And they put her name on it. So I saw an interview with her where she was like, she's like, got some crazy royalty check in the mail, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" She's like, "I have a credit on a Stones album." And she found out that Keith and Mick gave her equal songwriting credit on the song, and they were like, "Oh, did you mind?" She goes, "Did I mind?" She's like, "Fuck." It's like more money I've ever seen. It's really a funny story, but she just talks about how she was like thrilled. In fact, there's a couple of Katie Lang albums that are really great. Her first record, called Shadowland, was produced by Owen Bradley. And Owen Bradley was the guy responsible for the Nashville sound. And he did her record. And she has like Western Stars on that album, Black Coffee. That is a great, great record. And then the other album I love with her was the album that she did, Save Me, Ingenue. Ingenue's a great, great album. And that's Greg Lease on Lap Steel on that record. And that's a phenomenal record. Between those two records, those are the two that I would ever suggest to somebody if you want to get turned on to how great Katie Lang was. But that Black Coffee album, Shadowland, is really great. So Almost Hear a Sigh, I always thought sounded like one of Keith's solo songs on, and I can't remember which one it is now, but it sounds like it would be on Keith's solo record. It sounds like they just took one of the grooves from Talk Is Cheap. Yeah. Yeah, he was the Nashville sound that did all the Patsy Cline stuff. Exactly right. I was working on a country record in LA, and somebody was talking to me from, they were at Warner Chappell, which is the publishing company. And the guy was, I'm trying to think, was it Burt Bacharach's guy? I forget who the guy was. And the guy says to me, "Listen, before you start recording, you got to call this guy. He's a country engineer, and at the time he was like 90, but he lives in the Valley." Yeah, yeah. Norm lived above a coffee shop that I used to go to in Venice. Well, I think technically it's Santa Monica. He was right at the Venice line, but he's in Santa, and it was a building that was owned by Schwarzenegger owned the building, and they turned it into condos. He owned that building, and he owned the building across the street that his restaurant Shotzi was on, and he had his cigar shop Hollywood Smoke there. And he sold, when he became governor, the governator, Schwarzenegger had to sell his Shotzi restaurant, and he sold the cigar shop to this guy Greg, who still owns it, but he moved it down the street like a few years ago. But right across the street was the lot was owned by Schwarzenegger, and then a developer got involved with him a couple of years ago, and they built condos and a coffee shop, and Norm had a place above that. Now, when I left LA in like 13, 14, Norm moved like a year or two later to a new development on Jefferson Boulevard, which was in Culver City. But yeah, but when I knew Norm, he was just above the coffee shop there. But what was I saying before the Norm bit? Oh yeah. So this guy, they had me call this 90-year-old guy, and I had no idea why they wanted me to call him. But they were like, this guy will give you some tips on recording country, and it'd just be a nice guy to talk to. And he doesn't talk to many people anymore. And it was like an old friend of the guy who worked for Warner Chappell. And at the time, I was trying to get in at Warner Chappell. I was trying to get a publishing deal. So I was like, yeah, whatever you want me to do. So I called this guy. Now, this guy is like 90 years old, and he's telling me stories and whatever. Like, we can't even get to the beef of what the hell I'm calling about. And so then he's like, let me give you a couple of tips. I said, okay, this is what I called for. And his tip was like, you really, when you're recording, check out this microphone called the U87 by Neumann. It's only been out a few years. I said, you mean the mic from the late 60s, early 70s? He goes, yeah, that's the one. I'm like, it's fucking 2004, right? He was like, I guess it's not that new anymore. But, to the guy, it was yesterday. And he was just trying to tell me that, he's like, you can do a whole record with that in a 57. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm like, I got a guy the guy who was my engineer is like a mic guru type of guy, knows every mic, everything. I go, listen, we have an 87. We have two of them. And we're good. But it was just, the guy wanted me to talk to his buddy. And I was willing to do anything. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll call the guy. Look, I'm looking for them to sign me to publishing. And I never went through. But we had a good time. It was fun. We had a good time making the record. But I got the biggest kick out of that. There's a new mic called a U87. I'm like, a new one? I'm like, you realize that mic has been on like every record of the 70s, right? And I like that mic. The funny thing about using mics and stuff when you're working with singers and stuff and music is try a bunch. I was always into, me and my buddy Ted, we would try every mic just to see what the hell, which sounds the best on what. Because we wanted the recording to sound great. Before we even got to mix, I wanted the thing to be pretty close to what I wanted. I don't want to sit there and be like, all right, I use this mic, but I got to pull this out of it and add this. I didn't want to be in that situation. So it was funny because when we got Matt Rawlings to come down and play piano for us, Matt was like, we asked him, we played in the cans what we had, which was bass drum, scratch guitar, scratch vocal. And Matt was like, why is this already mixed? And we're like, we haven't touched anything. And he came in, he was like, to the board, he's like, why did you guys mix this already before? Like, don't you have a lot of other people you're going to put? I'm like, we haven't mixed anything. And then it was real funny because then he was like, what did you mic this? What did you, it was just very, but couldn't believe that we hadn't touched anything yet. I'm like, you're hearing the raw recording on the tape, not on the tape, but on the hard drive. We were using Pro Tools. But I also think when you have the right player playing what you want to do, we worked with this guy who played cello, and we were having a hell of a time with timing and whatnot because he was from an orchestra, and orchestra people are very tough when it comes to playing to a click. And when I say a click, there was already drums laid down, so he's playing to the beat. And he's like, is this out of time? We're like, no. And so we took like maybe 5 or 6 passes, and I'm like, listen, we can fix this. But the sound of that cello sounds so amazing in the studio. I don't give a shit. That's the sound I want, and we'll make it. We'll make it anything. And we did. He did a great performance. We nudged a couple of things here and there in Melodyne to move stuff just to squeak it in time a little bit better. But I mean, the guy would have no idea unless he's watching this fucking thing I'm talking about right now. But we nudged it here and there, and it worked. But it's the sound of his cello is so sick. I was like, oh my God. Like, you don't have to do anything. It's like, that's the sound, man. That thing sounds like it's in my living room. Sounds like it's in the room with you. It's just a beautiful, sometimes like mandolin is one of those instruments where the recording mandolin, it's like, never sound, I mean, I don't know, mandolin never sounds, it's always like a dull sound to me. Except my Breedlove mandolin, which is magical sounding. But in general, mandolins are usually, they record very dull sounding to me. And, but anyways, I'm rambling. Anyways, that's gonna be it, because it's getting late. I gotta crash. I gotta be up early and do a bunch of stuff. The next 2 days are gonna be hectic for me. The next 3 days. So I won't be live till like I said, I'll probably go live. I don't know, because if I go live in London, I'm definitely gonna post some videos from London. But if I go live in London, it's 5 hours. I mean, I guess I'll do it. I'll do like a 6 o'clock, which would be what, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but it won't be a late night like this. All right, everyone. Hey, thanks so much for everyone that hangs out with me. I really appreciate it. Make my time go by quick. Appreciate you guys. And thanks so much for watching my channel and hanging out. And I'll wrap with you guys soon. Thanks so much. Very good.